But back then, I was like, what happened? And I remember just my children driving off with their dad. And I look back now, I feel like he stole them from me, you know?
So, did you give him permission to take your children, or did he just say?
I did because I thought he really was trying to help me. But I think I don't know, I can't say what he was thinking. I really don't know. I know how I dealt with it when I started thinking about it more in hindsight, that he took the kids and was going to go make a whole family here. And I walked on this journey that I failed as a mother, that I wasn't good enough, all of these things.
Mm-hmm. Now, was he a narcissist as well? Because, most abusers are narcissists.
He very well may be. I don't know. I don't know. I know my second husband was, without a doubt. I really don't know.
So,
who was.
So at what point did you feel like, I need an exit plan?
Well, I had an exit plan. I executed it while he was gone overseas. I got out safely. In that situation, I moved my children and I off the military base, and I rented a little house for the two of us. So I had a safe space for us, so that when he did return back, he walked into my home. And at the time, I felt like, you can't say nothing to me. Look at me. I'm good. You know? But he still had a form of control over me, I still think, at that time. Because he had controlled so much of how I thought and how I thought about myself, and just how I just viewed my worldview of so many things. Everything, I didn't really have my family. My mother was deceased. My father was gone. And I wasn't really close to any other members of my family back in Seattle. So his family became my family. And his family was very dysfunctional, full of a lot of alcoholism, abuse, and different things like that as well. So I married a broken man, but I didn't know he was a broken man, because I just thought when I met him, he was strong. He appeared to be strong and all of those things. So I was looking for a father, I think, in a lot of ways. A protector. And that's, I think, what drew me. But he had his own brokenness, as many of these men do.
And that's true. Yeah, and that's true. And, if you think about, you've talked to other women that went through physical abuse, mental abuse, because abuse comes in so many different ways. You don't necessarily have to just beat it out of, beat a woman or whatever. It can come in many different ways. But most of us, our fathers were absent at some point. Or you felt like some point in your life that you just don't know what real love feels like, and it prompts you to get with different people trying to fill that void of, what does love feel like? Is this the right one? And it's almost like you're picking greens to find love, but you just keep turning up with the bad, dirty ones.
Keep doing it. Keep doing it.
And I think a lot of us we look for that in a man, and it's sad to say that absentees from our father could be the cause of us staying so long with these guys. And a lot of times you think that people would change, or that we can change them if you just be a little bit nicer, if you be just a little bit more prompt, if you do this better or say that better, it's going to change them. But it's just like you said, they're broken, and you cannot fix a broken person, whether it be a male or a female. It's not something that we can fix if they're broken.
Right. And I will say many of these abusers, and I will say men and women alike, because as you stated before, or on another podcast, that men can be abused as well. One thing is, they have an outward persona, a public persona, a professional one, where people are in awe of them. They admire them. They respect them. So that when you, the one who is being abused, even says something, a lot of times you're not believed. They're like, really? No, they're not. Like, they're so nice. And they're so helpful. And then you're like, yeah, to everyone but me.
That's that wolf in sheep's clothing.
So I experienced that, definitely in my first marriage. And then in my second marriage, I had gone to Hawaii, and I was single for a couple of years, and I, returned back to church and my faith and all of that. So then comes along another wolf, devil, whatever you want to call it, that quoted scripture.
We're going to call their ass wolf devils.
Right? So I'm like, oh my gosh, he knows the Bible. He knows the word. He must be good. No, Rachel. Not so much. A narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
Very sick and twisted theology. All sorts of things. And basically married this person, and within a couple of weeks after marrying this person, he literally said to me, I only married you because I felt sorry for you.
Oh, wow. So he tried to belittle you in so many words. And that's another way they reel you in. What they'll do is try to defame your character. You're fat, you're this, you're ugly. And Lord, don't have more than 2 kids. Ain't nobody going to want you with all them kids. And I'm the only man that's going to do this. And trust me, it goes on. And a narcissist will drain your soul. Absolutely. When I tell you, it's hard to get rid of them. They latch on to you, and it's hard to shake them. And it's almost like, Lord, how can we get rid of this person? And it's pretty bad. So, but how did you escape? Or let me take it all the way back. When did you first know? Because we know before it happens. We sense the signs. Like, at what part of the marriage did you realize that I might be in a little trouble here?
So, from the very beginning, I knew that he had sort of a spiritual superiority complex, as I would call it. And I remember I used to say, because I've always been sort of an outspoken person, so I would say, you need to get off your spiritual high horse. But I also didn't want to fail at marriage. In my mind, I didn't want to disappoint God. Just so many of these false religious type of thoughts. You know what I mean? Because God is a loving God. He's not like that. Mm-hmm. And so I started seeing with this one, it was, instead of spending time with me, he would come home and go straight to the back and spend time with the Lord in prayer for hours.
Yeah.
So it was spooky pooky. It was weird. My children were hurt by this person. My son physically, actually, but my daughter, and she went away to college, and she was like, I don't want anything to do with this guy. So those are the things too, women, we have children who see these things, and they've been hurt. But one thing I do know, I've talked to both of my children about these things. I've apologized for things, and we have great relationships. I have a great relationship with my daughter and my son, but there's still probably residual stuff. But yeah. I want to say to all of the women especially, don't blame yourself. Don't blame yourself. You got into this because you loved somebody and you cared for somebody and you have a kind, sweet heart. Those types of people hone in on people like that, man. The nurturers, the kind, giving, generous people, they zoom in on it. A lot of those broken men who maybe are insecure or whatever it may be. That's my personal belief now that I
and it's hard to get undetached from that, because you have to think about, if you suffer years of abuse, whether it be physical or mental, that you start to believe that. You start to believe the things that they say about you that are negative, and then you start to doubt yourself. You start to doubt your well-being. You start to doubt things that you know that you are capable of doing. You start to look at yourself in a negative way, and then it's your fault. And it's just so hard to get rid of those negative things that this person has put on you for years. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot of prayer. It takes a lot. And I will say that even in a relationship, women, we are packing a bag even if we're not moving. You know what I mean? It may be a mental bag, but we are putting items in this bag, preparing ourselves to get out. Rather, even if it's in a relationship that's not abusive, when you're fed up, you start to pack this suitcase and you pack this bag. And when that bag is fully packed, you're out. You're out. Absolutely. And so in doing so, you have to start the healing process with yourself. And that's, your worth. You know what you're capable of. I think my biggest thing was, you feel guilty for bringing your children into those relationships like that, because it has to affect them. It has to affect them to see you sit around and take that, and in the back of their mind, like, why is she taking this? And she's choosing him over us, knowing that she deserves better. But a lot of times we put our children to the back because now you want to be the good wife. Now you want to stay in it for the long haul. And the unfortunate thing is we tend to choose these bad men and put them first instead of thinking, like, what's more important? My family, my children. But it's like you said, you grew up around only his family. So that was pretty much your family. That's what you knew, but you have to create a support system. You have to talk to people. You have to know that it's nothing to be embarrassed about. The thing that keeps a lot of people in abusive relationship is embarrassment. First of all, you embarrassed because your relationship is a SHIT and you want everybody to think it's gold. Second, you embarrassed that you're letting this man abuse you, and you want everybody to view him as a good guy. And that's why when people, oh no, not him, he can't, he won't, because you got to think about all the years that we've covered for them, all the years that we've made people think that they are good people when they are really not good people. But as a good woman, you cover for them. You don't want anybody to look at your man as the bad guy.
But I've broken that in my life. I will not do that.
Now. But going through an abusive relationship.
Why should somebody that wronged you or hurt you or harmed you deeply, why me as I hate the word victim, but as the victim, I guess, why do I need to protect your reputation when you have no regard for mine?
Right. But it took you a while to get there.
Yes.
It takes a lot of learning, because you got to think about it. Here's an example. We get into an argument, right? And your mom calls. How you doing? I'm good. What's going on? Oh, nothing. I'll talk to you later. I'm not, you know what I mean? You never come right out and say, this sucker, over here and did this to me, and but you cover for them. And you want it to be, you want everybody to think that your house is in order when it's crumbling down, when you're in an abusive relationship. You haven't built the strength to just be like, you know what? I'm getting the hell up out of here. You can keep all this shit, But that's when your exit plan comes into place. You need to first sit down and get a strategy. Where you're going to go, what you're going to do. And my thing was, I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't have a support team. I didn't have somebody that I could just pack up and say, I'm going to take my 4 kids and we're going to run here or go stay there. And I stayed until, thank God, other things happened and it freed me. But second marriage, I knew better.
Right.
It was kind of like, I went through it though. And it took a lot from me. It drained every piece of me. I was depressed. I was just going through all different type of feelings because I just couldn't figure out. Right. I just couldn't figure out why this person would be so mean to me. And it wasn't a physical abuse, but it was a narcissistic. It was verbal. It was just like draining. It takes everything from you. And in your mind, you can't figure out, what am I doing so wrong? Or why can't you just be the person that you were when I met you, or who you portrayed to be? And
well, the thing is, Shar, you marry or you meet with these types of individuals. You marry a representative.
Mm-hmm.
So you fall in love with the picture they're painting for
mm-hmm.
you, and all the sweet. I mean, how many stories have we heard of people who, they bought me flowers in the beginning and they did this and they did that, and then a couple months in, it's like, bloop,
right.
Everything flipped and turned, and you have to take the time to get to know somebody, know their family, histories, and I can say I'm still not perfect at it. None of us are, but dealing with a narcissist, and I dealt with spiritual abuse where somebody used religion to beat me down, used scripture to beat me down, would quote scripture to me, would look at something I bought from the grocery store and say there was a demonic spirit tied to it, get it out of that. I mean, madness.
Now that man would have chopped you up, and I'm just talking now, but I'm being real. People like that,